I still remember the first time I dropped into the driver's seat of a BMW. That smell, real leather. The steering wheel sitting perfectly in your hands. The gauge cluster lighting up like a fighter jet cockpit. I thought to myself, yeah, you get what you pay for. I earned this. That was 2021. Last week, I sat inside an SUV from a brand I guarantee 90% of you have never heard of. Sticker price, $30,000. It had a screen that rotates to follow the driver. It had a suspension system that reads the road surface. Before the tire even touches the pothole, it had full self-parking with nobody sitting inside the car. It had massage seats, a panoramic glass roof, and wireless charging for every single seat in the back row. And I just sat there, tapping the steering wheel, turning one question over and over in my head. Wait a second, BMW just rolled out these exact features like they invented fire. Like this is some kind of technological breakthrough. And how much extra did they charge you for all of it? Today I'm going to go through it piece by piece, feature by feature, spec sheet against spec sheet. No feelings, no brand loyalty, just real numbers. And at the very end, I'm going to tell you the one thing BMW still does better. Because I'm not here to lie to you. Welcome to the show, Wheel Factor. I'm your host for today, and before we get into this, let me set the ground rules real quick. Everything that I am about to show you comes straight from official spec sheets, window stickers, and official car configurators, pulled directly from manufacturer websites. I am not going to stand here and tell you BMW makes a bad car. That's not what this is. What I am going to show you is a side-by-side breakdown of 5 very specific areas of comparison, where a $30,000 Chinese SUV is delivering the exact same technology, and in some cases better technology, than a German car costing more. And like I said, I'll be honest, with you at the end. Now, let's get into it right now. Body 1, screens and cabin tech. Let's start with the thing everyone notices. First, when they sit inside a car, focusing first on the screen setup, looking at the interior tech, the stuff that makes you feel like you are either living in the future or paying for something that should have been standard equipment 5 years ago. In 2023, BMW rolled out. They introduced their all-new curved display setup. Inside the i4 and the iX, it's a single seamless piece of glass, housing a 14.9-inch screen and a 12.3-inch digital gauge cluster. The BMW marketing team treated this like they had just cracked the code on in-car technology. Reviewers called this setup revolutionary, and showroom traffic jumped significantly. And to be perfectly fair to them, it really does look very sharp. The problem is Zeekr had already been doing this. Since 2021, the Zeekr 001 launched with a 15.4-inch AMOLED center screen that swivels on a motorized arm to face either the driver or the front passenger, depending on who's using it. Not just a fixed curved piece of glass. An actual rotating screen that physically moves based on context. And that wasn't a premium option. That was standard equipment on a $35,000 car. NIO took it even further with their ET7, giving rear passengers their own dedicated screens embedded in the front seat backs. Plus a roll-down rear entertainment display that drops from the headliner like you're sitting in a private jet. BMW will happily sell you a rear seat entertainment package for your 7 Series. The price to add it? Around $3,500 extra, on a car that already starts at $93,000. Here's what that means in plain English. You are paying roughly the same price as an entire Zeekr, just to add a feature to your BMW that the Zeekr included before BMW even thought to offer it. And the Zeekr's screen is bigger, more responsive, and runs on faster processor hardware, because the software platform was built from scratch in this decade instead of being adapted from a system designed 10 years ago. I sat in both cabins back to back. The BMW feels premium. The materials are tight, the layout is clean, and nothing feels cheap. But the Zeekr feels like a product from a company that genuinely asked the question, what do people actually want to do inside a car in 2025? And then just built that. No compromises, no option packages, no $3,000 add-ons. Up next, we're moving underneath the car, and this is where things start to get genuinely uncomfortable for the German brands. If you have ever optioned up a BMW from a base trim to something approaching truly comfortable, you already know what's coming. Adaptive suspension on a BMW is not standard. It never has been. You want the M adaptive suspension on an X5? That's going to cost you around $1,300 as a standalone option. You want the full executive package that bundles? adaptive suspension with the other comfort features you actually want. Clear your throat and add somewhere between $4,000 and $6,000 to the window sticker, depending on the trim level and the year. Now let me tell you what BYD Yangwang put into the U8 as standard equipment, not as an option, standard. They built what they call the DS-USP hydraulic body control system. This isn't air suspension. Air suspension is what BMW uses. Airbags that inflate and deflate to adjust ride height. That's last decade's technology. Hydraulic body control uses pressurized fluid circuits at each corner of the car that react in real time independently to keep the body perfectly flat through corners, over bumps, and across uneven terrain. The system can raise the entire vehicle body 6 inches in under 3 seconds. It can keep the car level even if one tire blows out completely. It can shift the car's weight distribution dynamically mid-corner, without any driver input at all. The Zeekr 9X takes a different but equally impressive approach, with active electromagnetic suspension that uses sensors mounted at the front of the car to read the road surface 50 feet ahead of where the tires are. 50 feet. That means by the time your wheel reaches a pothole, the size of a basketball, the damper at that corner has already adjusted its stiffness to absorb it. You don't feel it. The cabin remains perfectly steady. The coffee in your cup holder doesn't move. The road surface is deleted. BMW's adaptive suspension reacts to bumps as the wheel hits them. It is reactive technology, responding only after the impact. The Zeekr system is predictive technology. That is a fundamental difference in engineering philosophy. And the Zeekr's approach is objectively more advanced. And neither the BYD U8 nor the Zeekr 9X charges you extra for this. It comes in the base price. The BMW charges you for the privilege of technology that is already one generation behind what you're comparing it to. That alone should make you put the window sticker down and ask some hard questions, but we're not done. Because the next section is the one that let's talk about the part of the car that actually moves it. The part that, if you're spending $80,000 or $90,000 on a BMW EV, you have every right to expect to be world-class. The BMW iX Drive 50 is one of their flagship electric SUVs. It puts out 516 horsepower combined from its dual-motor setup, does 0 to 60 in 4.6 seconds, and offers a rated range of 324 miles on a full charge. On paper, that sounds competitive. The charging speed tops out at 200 kilowatts on a DC fast charger, which means under ideal conditions, you're looking at roughly 35 minutes to charge from 10 to 80%. Now let me read you the Zeekr 9X spec sheet. Over 1,300 horsepower from a quad motor layout, 0 to 60 in the low 3-second range. That is not a misprint. Over 1,300 horsepower in a family SUV. The charging architecture runs on an 800-volt platform, with 5C charging capability, meaning you can go from 10 to 80% in under 15 minutes. The BMW takes more than twice as long to charge to the same level. But let's be fair and bring this back to a closer price comparison. The Zeekr 7X starts around $35,000, 636 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds, 10 to 80% charge in 10.5 minutes. 10 minutes. I cannot drink a full cup of coffee in 10 minutes. That car is finished charging before I figured out which podcast to put on. The BMW i4 eDrive 40, which is BMW's answer to the mainstream performance EV sedan, and starts around $57,000, puts out 340 horsepower, and does 0 to 60 in 5.5 seconds. The Zeekr costs $35,000 and out-accelerates it by nearly 2 full seconds. It also charges nearly 3 times faster, 2 full seconds and 3 times the charging speed, for $22,000 less. I'm not editorializing here, that is just arithmetic. The engineering reason for this gap is real and it matters. Most European automakers are still building their EV platforms around 400-volt architecture because it's compatible with their existing manufacturing lines and supplier relationships. 800-volt architecture requires a complete ground-up redesign of the entire electrical system. Chinese brands started fresh. They had no legacy infrastructure to protect, no existing supplier contracts to honor, no decades-old platform to adapt. They just built the right thing from the beginning, and you are paying for BMW's legacy costs every single time you sign a lease. Body 4, safety technology and driver assistance. This one is personal for me, because safety technology is the area where automakers have historically been the most shameless about charging extra for things that should just be included. When you are buying a car at this price point, BMW's Driving Assistant Professional Package, which includes active lane keeping, lane change assist, evasive steering assist, and their extended traffic jam assistant, is a standalone option. Depending on the model and trim, it adds between $1,000 and $1,700 to the purchase price on a car that starts at $60,000. They want $1,700 more for software that is already on the car. They are charging you to unlock features that are physically present in the hardware you already paid for. NIO's approach is different at a foundational level. The Watchtower sensor system on the ET7 includes a high-definition LiDAR unit, 7 radar modules, 12 ultrasonic sensors, and 11 cameras, giving the car a combined sensing range of 500 meters in every direction. This hardware suite and the NIO Pilot Driver Assistance software that runs on it comes standard on every ET7, not as an option, not as a package you add at the dealership. It is in the car when you buy the car. The Avatar 11 runs on Huawei's ADS system with 34 individual sensors, including 3 semi-solid-state LiDAR units. I have watched video footage of this car, navigating downtown Beijing traffic, scooters cutting in from every angle, pedestrians stepping off curbs, delivery bikes running red lights, and the car handles all of it more smoothly, and with more confidence than most human drivers I know. The system does not get distracted, it does not get frustrated, it does not check its phone, and it is included in the $45,000 base price. Here is the number that matters. If you build out a BMW X5 to include their full suite of driver assistance features, along with the premium audio, comfort access, and display packages that bring its technology level close to what these Chinese competitors offer as standard equipment, you are adding somewhere between $8,000 and $12,000 to the window sticker before you have touched a single performance or aesthetic upgrade. That is not an opinion. Pull up the BMW Build and Price tool right now and try it yourself. $12,000 in options on a car that already starts at $66,000 to get to a technology level that a $35,000 Zeekr gives you on day one without asking. Body 5. Design and interior materials. I want to be careful here because this section is subjective. Because this section is the most subjective. Design is personal. What looks aggressive to one person? What looks aggressive to one person looks tacky to another. Looks tacky to another. So I'm going to stay. I'm going to stay as close to objective facts as I can. As close to objective facts as I can. What I'm not going to do is pretend that BMW hasn't been making some deeply questionable design decisions lately. The oversized kidney grille on the iX generated some of the most visceral negative reactions from automotive enthusiasts I have ever seen. People who had been loyal BMW buyers for 20 years said publicly they could not bring themselves to be seen in it. That is a real brand problem that no amount of marketing language fixes. On the materials side, here's what BMW includes. Here's what BMW includes in a base X5 interior. Sensitech synthetic leather on the seats. That is the polite term for faux leather. Real Vernasca leather is an option starting at around $1,400. Genuine wood trim on the dashboard is another option package. The entry-level interior on a $66,000 vehicle. On a $66,000 vehicle is synthetic upholstery and plastic trim. The Honky EHS9, which is a large luxury SUV that starts around $80,000 and competes directly with the BMW X7. Comes standard with real Napa leather, genuine walnut wood, and a crystal gear selector that looks like something out of a jewelry display case. Not options. Standard. The BYD Yangwang U8L comes standard with Napa leather. African Sapel wood trim, and 5 individual screens in the front cabin alone. The NIO ET7 executive version comes standard with a smart refrigerator in the center console that opens via voice command. I get that BMW has decades of brand heritage, and that the name on the hood carries real weight. I understand that. But when I am sitting in a $66,000 car with synthetic leather seats, and I have to pay extra to get real wood on the dashboard, while a brand I could not have named 2 years ago is putting refrigerators and Napa leather in a $40,000 vehicle as standard equipment, that is not a heritage premium anymore. That is just a margin play. Let me put the numbers on the table. so we can all look at them together. BMW i4 eDrive 40 base price, $57,000. To add adaptive suspension, the full driver assistance suite, upgraded leather, and the rear entertainment screen, you are looking at an additional $9,000 to $12,000. Total real-world cost to get a fully equipped i4 that matches the technology level of its Chinese competitors, $66,000 to $69,000. Zeekr 7X fully loaded, around $42,000. 1,300 horsepower NIO ET7 executive trim, around $80,000. But with a feature set that competes with cars at $150,000. Zeekr 9X, roughly $110,000, targeting the $300,000 ultra-luxury segment. Here is the honest scorecard across the 5 areas we covered. Cabin technology, Chinese brands lead by 2 to 3 years. Suspension technology, Chinese brands are 1 full generation ahead. Electric powertrain performance and charging speed, Chinese brands win on every measurable metric at equivalent price points. Driver assistance hardware and software inclusion, Chinese brands include standard what BMW charges as options. Interior materials at base trim, Chinese brands are not close. They are in a different conversation entirely. 5 categories, 5 wins for the Chinese brands. On pure feature to dollar value, I did not cherry pick the data. You can verify every number I gave you tonight. Here is the part where I'm not going to pretend BMW is being dishonest with you. They are running a business, and the business is working. BMW carries decades of engineering infrastructure, a global dealer and service network in over 140 countries, regulatory compliance costs across dozens of different markets, each with their own crash test and emission standards, and a brand value that took 50 years to build. When you buy a BMW, you are also buying access to a certified service center within 20 miles of almost anywhere you live in the United States. You are buying parts availability. You are buying a resale value that, while declining, still holds better than most competitors. You are buying the badge and everything that comes with it, socially and professionally. None of that is nothing. All of it costs money to maintain, and all of it gets folded into the price you pay. Chinese brands do not have that network yet. If your Zeekr needs a specific sensor replaced in Columbus, Ohio in 2025, you are not driving to the dealer around the corner. But here's the question I want to leave you with. BMW knows exactly what they are doing. They know the technology gap exists. They know the price gap exists. They are betting that you will keep paying for the badge, the network, and the familiarity. And honestly, based on their sales numbers, they are right about most buyers. The real question is not whether BMW is overcharging you. The real question is whether you know exactly what you are paying for, and whether that trade-off is worth it to you personally. Because now you have the numbers, and the decision is yours. Alright, that's the breakdown. 5 features, 2 manufacturers, and a whole lot of money sitting in the gap between them. I want to hear where you land on this. Are you still a BMW buyer after seeing these numbers? Or has something shifted for you? Drop it in the comments. I genuinely read every single one. If your jaw dropped at the charging speed comparison, smash the like button because that number still gets me every time I think about it. Subscribe and hit the bell because next week we are going deep on something nobody in the American car media wants to talk about. What's somebody film no denti di don't why Ford and GM have both made the exact same strategic mistake, and how China spotted it before either of them did. You do not want to miss that one.